Welcome to All Hands on Deck, Stay Secure, the podcast where we explore the trends shaping tomorrow's world. I'm Bella, and today's episode is Deep Sea Mining, the next resource race, which dives deep into the ocean floor where a new frontier of resource extraction is emerging. Our focus today is deep sea mining and resource conflict and how climate change and global governance gaps could shape the future. I'm so happy to introduce our guest from the University of St. Andrews, master's student Amber.
Hi, thanks so much for having me. It's an honor.
Of course.
Let's get right into it. As the world pushes for green technologies in the face of climate change, the demand for critical minerals is skyrocketing. Rare earth elements are required in the production of clean energy sources, which are all found in the deep ocean. But mining the seabed isn't just about technology and progress, it's intertwined with geopolitics, ecology, and governance globally.
Quickly, before we get too deep in conversation, get it? Will you explain, Amber, what exactly is deep sea mining?
Yeah, so thousands of meters beneath the ocean surface, deposits of metals and minerals have built up over millions of years, and deep sea mining is essentially the extraction of those materials. Firstly, a large machine is sent to the ocean floor, then the mined minerals are pumped up to the ship on the surface, while sand and other non-usable substrates are released back into the ocean. Keep in mind that this has only been accomplished on a very small scale.
Thank you. Like you said, it's only been achieved on a rudimentary level, so why does this matter for the future?
Good question. Deep sea mining could become one of the most contested issues of the next decade, but it's a paradox. We need these minerals for the construction of renewable energy sources, but the means of extraction could potentially devastate untouched oceanic ecosystems.
Let me stop you right there. You've chosen to use the word could regarding environmental damage. It seems as though the process is fairly invasive, so tell me, is there a possibility deep sea mining may not be as bad as it sounds?
Yes, I've been very careful with my wording so far. There's no doubt that it's invasive, which we'll go into more detail later on. However, there has been discourse that in comparison to terrestrial mining, deep sea mining would leave less of a carbon footprint. But again, it's all speculation. I'd like to point out that the environmental risks aren't the only possible issues with deep sea mining. The technology is relatively new, and global governance has yet to keep up with modern innovation, leaving a gap for conflict to ensue.
I've read about this, and correct me if I'm wrong, there is an intergovernmental organization by the name of International Seabed Authority, or ISA, that's meant to govern the ocean floor beyond national jurisdiction.
Yes, ISA is, and I quote, meant to ensure any deep water activities must be carried out for the benefit of humankind as a whole.
Wow, that's a difficult promise to keep.
Exactly. Considering ISA is under pressure from multiple actors to finalize ocean exploitation guidelines, but critics say that the mining process lacks transparency and accountability. In addition, states and corporations are already showing interest in mineral-rich zones, specifically the Clarion-Clipperton Fracture Zone.
The Clarion-Clipperton Fracture Zone. Is it alright if I just call it the CCZ?
Yeah, that'll save time.
Okay, so tell me more about the CCZ.
So it's located in the Pacific, and it's a region that covers 1.5 million square kilometers, holding an estimated 21 billion tons of polymetallic nodules.
Sorry, a polymetal what?
A polymetallic nodule? So imagine a potato-sized rock, but instead of just a 60 pence vegetable, these rocks are worth much more as they're packed with cobalt, nickel, copper, and manganese. This isn't just about mining, it's about who controls the means to a future of energy, technology, and the oceans.
Okay, so tell me, why is deep sea mining rock potatoes suddenly such a big thing on both an economic and environmental scale?
Well, because the green transition is so dependent on certain minerals, cobalt and nickel for EV batteries, copper for solar panels, and rare earth elements for wind turbines and electric motors, the International Energy Agency has predicted demand for these minerals will rise by 60 to 90% by 2040.
By that much? And I would imagine that land reserves are running low, so that means the deep ocean is the next logical mining frontier.
Yes. For example, the CCZ is packed with elements. Countries like China, Japan, and even small states like Nauru have sought out deep sea exploration licenses. Some estimates value seabed minerals at $20 trillion US. Imagine a future where resource competition moves from land to the ocean floor.
Now I'm understanding how competitive the markets will potentially be, which makes me wonder, what does this mean for maritime security?
It could mean a lot of tension. Whoever controls these minerals controls the supply chain for most green technology, which gives them extreme power. And when governance lags behind technology, there is usually conflict around the corner. We're already seeing geopolitical maneuvering. China dominates rare earth processing, the US is scrambling to secure supply chains, and Norway has approved seabed exploration despite a global moratorium.
Well, unfortunately, that makes sense. Everyone wants a piece of the potato. So, right. Earlier you had mentioned a paradox. Can we circle back to that?
Yes, the paradox I mentioned, we're mining the ocean to mitigate climate change, but the ecological cost could be catastrophic. Deep sea ecosystems are barely understood, and mining could destroy habitats and species that we haven't even discovered yet. Sediment plumes, noise pollution, biodiversity loss, they're all irreversible changes associated with deep sea mining techniques. One study by the UK's National Oceanography Centre, published this year, found that 44 years after a mining test, ecosystems showed little to no recovery.
I see. We can't solve one crisis without creating another.
Exactly. These sediment plumes reduce biodiversity, weaken carbon sequestration, and damage nutrient cycles. The irony is hard to ignore as we sacrifice ocean ecosystems to build clean energy infrastructure.
So, where do we go from here? My question is, can technology help us?
That's where artificial intelligence steps in. AI is already being used to map the seabed, identify mineral-rich zones, and even control autonomous mining vehicles. These systems can operate continuously with minimal to no human oversight. But here's the catch. If AI accelerates extraction faster than regulation can handle them, we're in trouble.
I can imagine accountability will become a big issue. If autonomous systems cause ecological damage, who's responsible? The company, the algorithm, the ISA? Plus, wouldn't AI make mining scalable, meaning more pressure on the already fragile ecosystems?
Yes, but AI could be part of the solution. There's been developments of algorithms that can model sediment plumes, predict biodiversity impacts, and enforce safeguards in real time. So the technology does exist, but the question is whether governance frameworks can integrate it and whether they can do so quickly and efficiently.
So that gives us a great segue into what the future of deep sea mining looks like.
Yeah, looking forward, deep sea mining could support the green transition without destroying the ocean. But if we get it wrong, we risk ecological collapse and major geopolitical issues.
So you're saying that we need to establish who gets to decide the boundaries, who the real stakeholders are, and who should finance it. And the real question, is it beneficial?
Right. A good place to start is answering those questions. One, ISA is in need of stronger oversight, and two, governance needs to advance in time with innovation.
Governance over unexplored oceans is the real frontier, the key to an entirely new source of energy.
Yeah. To wrap up, I would say deep sea mining isn't just about extracting minerals. It's about how we balance innovation, ecology, and global security. We've seen the green transition dependent on cobalt, nickel, and rare materials, but the ocean floor is the new possibility and it's fragile. Governance is lagging behind technology, and the ISA is under pressure, but its legitimacy is contested, which could fuel rivalries between states. Maritime security is directly tied to human security. Whoever controls seabed minerals controls supply chains for green energy, which means power over economies and climate resilience. Pathways forward include stronger oversight, global agreements that integrate AI into monitoring, and investment into ecological research before exploitation begins. At its core, this debate is about who gets to shape the future of the ocean and whether we treat it as a commons or a commodity.
Maritime security is tied to human security. A very powerful message. This is so much more than another warning about climate change. These things are happening now, and they impact everyone socially and economically. The choices we will make echo for centuries, as deep sea mining could support the green transition, or it could trigger ecological collapse and geopolitical conflict. Our call to action is simple. Stay informed, ask questions, and push for transparency about how seabed resources are governed. The ocean is a shared ecosystem, not just a resource. Thank you for joining us on All Hands on Deck. Stay secure. Today we explored deep sea mining, the next resource race. And for those who want to dive deeper, we'll link suggest reading in the notes. Remember, the future of clean energy may depend on what happens thousands of meters below the surface. Thank you, Amber, for joining us. That's it for today.